technological gods do not want this podcast to happen, but by Jesus, we're going to make it happen. How are you keeping? Are you well?
I'm good. We got there in the end. It was trying, but we got there.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you're getting this view up my nose because I had to use the phone instead of the regular setup. But we're delighted to have you on the show. Back again, I think the last time we spoke was during the pandemic. We spoke for a little podcast.
It's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, but we've had a little bit of contact privately. And the reason I wanted to talk to you today, Stevo, is because you're off on tour again. This must be the first time in a long time since you've left the country, is it?
Yeah, Jesus, yeah. Yeah, I'd say about 4 years, like early 2020, I'd say was the last time. And it's the first time going to America. So obviously that's exciting, but equally, the more exciting and the more big something is, the more equally freaked out and petrified I become. So yeah, it's a big step. It's a big step. Firstly, afraid of going over. Secondly, afraid of doing gigs. And thirdly, terrified of flight. So
don't worry, we'll dig into all of your fears now in 1 second. But can we just start with where the idea of going to New York and Boston for St. Patrick's Day came from? Is this one of those great ideas you had over Christmas and just managed to convince yourself, or have you wanted to do it for a long time?
I wanted to do it for a long time, and then I was thinking like when to go, and then I was thinking like Irish America, St. Paddy's Week, like it makes sense. And of course, like Boston and New York, but then we were offered like gigs to go to like all like places in New England around that area. People were messaging me like, would you do a gig in blah, blah, blah? But it's like, we're time limited too. Like we've got about 8 days and you don't want to do like 8 gigs. So 5 we kind of settled on. And one of them nights then is going to be, I was offered to do a talk in some Irish immigrant rights center thing. So yeah, I've done that as well. So it's not settled yet, but looks like it.
Brilliant. How do you put that together? Because, like behind the great success and the millions of views on Facebook and YouTube, it's very much a sort of a 1 or a 2 or a 3 person operation. There's yourself and there's Roxy. Yeah. Like, so do you get agents coming up to you going, okay, Steve, here's $1 million. Let's get you on Broadway, or how does it work?
So it's all us basically. I was just before the Christmas, I was messaging and emailing and the usual, and just like, notifying, I suppose, venues that, hey, we're coming over. And I put up a thing on Facebook that we're coming over to New York and Boston. If you like the perform, give us a shout. So a few pubs emailed us and got onto us, and some of them fell through, and some of them like they wanted like, oh, we'll give you the venue for $500 for the night. And you're like, no, I want the venue for like, I'll do a gig in your pub, but I expect the venue for free if I'm bringing in like 100 or so drinkers, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's business. And yeah, it's tiresome and it's irritating, and some fall through, and then they're spread out, obviously, like Boston back to New York and back to Boston, back to so you have to arrange your accommodation and try and arrange transport or rent a car and hire a car and all that. So it is stressful. So, but it'll be worth it.
We have to sort of address the elephant in the room that, you use a wheelchair. So getting around and yo-yoing between Boston and New York is a lot more difficult for you maybe than for somebody who doesn't use a wheelchair every day. So how does that factor in? And do people give a shit when you say to them, by the way, lads, this might be a little bit more difficult than what you might think? Because even access to venues can be a problem, can't it?
Yeah, some, it's not that they wouldn't give a shit, but they'd say, like, see, able-bodied people, and I've really realised this in the years because I've been on both sides, like since I've become disabled. Like a lot of people would say the pub I'm in is wheelchair accessible, and you'd go there and there'd be 3 steps at the front, because they don't even realise the steps at the front, because 3 is just a hop-up step for an able-bodied person. So a lot of people would say their venue is blah, 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 and then obviously that'll fall through them because it's more difficult. If there's one set of flights I can manage on the crutches, like it's dealable, But I've noticed a lot of venues then, like they'd go above and beyond, like absolutely above and beyond. They'll look up accommodation that's wheelchair accessible, that send you screenshots going, look, this is, what do you think of this and shit? And you're like, yeah, like, you have your hat on, so yeah. But it is stressful when you're disabled. like going on a holiday to me, I would see that as punishment. I'd see that as a task, as a horrible thing to do, because trying to arrange it all, like getting there, carrying bags and being in a wheelchair, having like me to push the wheelchair and Roxy carrying 7 bags and me feeling like shit because like, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So yeah, I don't like holidays. So if I do a holiday is a geek holiday for me. It's a working holiday. So maybe that's just because I'm a control freak and you know, at the same time. So
but I think, you know, if even people like yourself, you know, who do use wheelchairs, you want that sense of independence. You want to be able to go where you want to go, when you want to do it, and not be dependent on Roxy or anybody else. So, you know, you're not asking for the world there either. Is there nowhere, and I know this sounds like a bit of a glib question, but is there no sort of travel agent or that kind of thing that you could turn to and say, look, I fancy 2 weeks in the Canaries, and they go, yeah, we know exactly what you want, and there'll be a lad there to pick up your bags, and it'll be lovely to you, and everything will be all accessible, and the food will be accessible.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Like, it just, I suppose it's just the thoughts of it, and the thoughts of something going wrong that could just fills me with dread, I suppose, and the fact that I'm terrified of flying as well. So like like I just want to go to my doctor, down a load of Valium, and hopefully like Roxy just pushes me onto the plane. My like unmoving like fast corpse, just throw me into a seat and wait. Like I don't get like once I get off and we level off, my panic does the same. I'll eat and drink and everything on the plane. It's the takeoff because it's the taxiing up. It's the sense of up until that moment I can leave the plane. Now I'm trapped. Now I can have a full blown panic attack and freak out, and the public are watching. Everyone's staring at me. I can't escape. I can't go to a bathroom. I can't go to my safe place in the car or in my room. I am exposed, and my vulnerabilities are all there. And that's I suppose the terrifying thing. And I can't walk. You're even more trapped.
Do you have any idea where that fear comes from, Stevo?
I don't know. Like I've had this since like early teenage years. It started, but it's such a stupid thing looking back. But when I used to go for walks with my dad, I used to read the reg plates of cars, and then I used to have this dreaded feeling the odd time that it just kick in that there's a chance that I will never read every reg plate in the world, and there's reg plates out there that I won't get to read, and that used to freak me out. And that kind of started it. And I don't know where it actually comes from. Like I've done counselling, I've done every sort of thing. I suppose it's like obviously it's a base insecurity of being, I suppose, completely and utterly exposed and vulnerable. And then I ended up being a comedian because that's what comedians do. We want to be liked and we want to be loved, and people always come back at you then like with the horriblest things saying, and then go, I thought you were a comedian. And you're like, that completely doesn't make sense. You're saying to someone who's extremely insecure and wants to be loved the worst thing ever, and saying, but you're meant to be a comedian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you should be able for this. You should be able to take this, and, you know, whatever I say to you, it's only a joke, man.
Your mother's dead. I thought you were a comedian, man. You know what I mean? It's like,
God,
yeah.
And do you find, you know, the way sometimes when we live with these things, I mean, you know, Brendan Bean used to say that we all have our own way of dancing kind of thing, you know. Do you find yourself finding strategies to help you cope now? Because you have to get on that plane. There's no gigs. If you don't get on that plane with Roxy, there's no gigs.
Yeah, oh yeah. You like, it's well known, like people with panic disorder, they wake up with like numerous safety behaviours. I have hundreds of safety behaviours, like you avoidance techniques, and it's the worst thing you could do because it's further cementing in your brain that there is something to fear. You know, I had a panic attack in that cafe. I won't go to that cafe anymore. Like that's letting the panic win. You should go to that cafe. Like my biggest fear now would probably to get a taxi into town and to get out of the taxi and have the taxi leave because my car is not around. I'm more exposed again. You know, that kind of thing. So yeah, we've come up with our own little safety behaviours and things, and I've loads of them, like holding my nostril open to reassure my brain that I'm getting air, and just things like that. Rubbing my fingers and rubbing behind my ear like that, and just self-assurance kind of techniques.
And yet you sort of chose the career of a comedian, which is probably the most exposed thing that you can do in the arts.
Yeah, I can't think of anything more. Like, you know, I know Roxy's with me, but we're both alone on that stage, if you get me, like with everyone judging, and I'm being panicky, and it's like people kind of go to me, how'd you end up doing that with the way you are? And I go like, but the same thing would be happening if I worked in Super Value. You know, there's no, yeah, it might be on a bigger scale, but to me, like having a panic attack here at night when I wake up alone is just as bad as the one I have when I'm about to go on stage in front of a few hundred people. Like mine isn't really situational. It's just spasmodic, you know, episodic, you know, it's strange.
Yeah. And presumably there's kind of no real cure for what you suffer from, is there? Or, you know, do you, I mean, I don't recommend drugs of any description, that kind of thing, but do you find anything that's sort of, apart from the behaviours and the strategies that you found for yourself, does anything help you in that situation? Is there a magic pill or a magic bullet?
I suppose that trying to work through it logically, because you can't logic your way out of it once it begins, because the mammalian reptilian brain takes over and you're going to die. But trying to work through it logically and being organized, that's why I'd be super obsessed with, like I said, knowing where this venue is and that venue, and having looking at the front of the venue and screenshotting it, knowing where I'm going, and being rested. Like if I'm really panicky and can't sleep the night before, I'll be terrible the day after. And maybe that's another safety behavior. Maybe because, you know, in times gone past, I might have slept and had a panic attack, and maybe I put them two things together. So that's a possibility. But knowing that I have slept kind of reassures me.
Let's talk about the performances themselves. What's your, like, I mean, obviously you're known the world over for these brilliant sketches. Sure, wasn't I only texting you a few weeks ago with a young fellas going to college with my daughter in a little town in Sweden and going, this fella Stevo is brilliant, like, you know?
No, it's so strange, the messages I get, like, and things like that. Like, my uncle's been in New York for years, Jimmy, and someone came up to him a couple of years ago and started showing him the video, and he was like, yeah, that's my fucking nephew.
It's fantastic how it's bad. Even one of the lads that I trained jiu-jitsu with, he's mad about you all together. Actually, we'll have to do something when his birthday comes around. You and me'll have to do a video. But how did you first start? You know, how did Farmer Michael start off? Did you think, Jesus, like, I have to do this? Were you looking for a job? Was it just a bit of crack with the lads or with whoever?
Yeah, a bit of crack. I was just sitting in the car one night with my brother Ronan, and I just said, here, Ronan, record me for the laugh. And the first video is still up, and it was Farmer Martin. Like, it was Martin. Ronan was just going, yeah, Martin, yeah. He was just, you know, he was, to say, the original Kathleen character. And it just threw it up on Facebook on my own profile. Didn't even have a page. And just, people, like, started sharing it and liking it. And I was just like, yeah, this is kind of cool. This is funny. You know, this is a bit of crack. And then it kind of, Jesus, yeah, I done one then couple of weeks later about Conor McGregor and stealing my style, and I was wearing a dicky ball, but I didn't call it a dicky ball because that was rude, so I called it a Richard ball, and that just went kind of viral. And it was just, yeah, it was kind of crazy. Then it just, the monster began, let's say, and you know, yeah, that's the beginnings.
Yeah. How has it changed over the years, Stevo? Because, like you say, I mean, Farmer Michael has always been the sort of the central character. You've had different people with you know, doing Kathleen, and you know, and sometimes you're in the car all the time. Sometimes you do things at home. You know, how has your approach to it changed over the years?
Oh, it's changed radically. Like, even the accent, like there's 4 different like kind of accents of Farmer Michael, and 4 different kind of ways he is. Like, and oftentimes I'd have to watch a video to remember how to do the voice or what voice to do. Like, I'd say to Roxy, like, Jesus Christ, I don't even know how to do the voice.